Welcome to ProKitchen Software online video tutorial series. In this video, we will explore Cathedral Ceilings. We will access wall attributes, create each cathedral shape, and address cathedral ceiling pitfalls and how to avoid them. If your customer has a cathedral ceiling, it is a really nice finishing touch to add one within your ProKitchen design, allowing you to provide an even more true-to-final product 3D rendering to the client. ProKitchen software allows you to add this visual component to your designs via wall attributes. It is important to know that when you are creating a cathedral ceiling in your room, that it is only to be created on a single wall within the design, and it must be created on one of the two walls that will hold the highest peak of the ceiling. For instance, my east and west walls are at 140 inches in length and will hold the slope of the cathedral. My 120-inch north and south walls will hold the highest peak of the ceiling. So, the cathedral shape must be created in either the north or the south wall's attributes. There are two ways in which to access a singular wall's attributes. The first method of accessing wall attributes is through the right-click toolbox, or you may double left-click the desired wall to bypass right-click menu access and immediately launch the Attributes dialog box. In the Cathedral tab to the left is where you will be able to create a cathedral ceiling for this room. By default, none is selected and will render in 3D as a standard planar ceiling. Slope is a ceiling with a single peak. Shed will create a ceiling with two peaks, and gambrel will create a ceiling with 3 peaks. Let's start with the first option, slope. Once selected, below will appear the cathedral parameters where you will need to enter 2 parameters to build this ceiling. Vault position refers to the distance from the left adjoining wall to where the peak of the ceiling will sit. The easiest method of measuring this distance in the field is to measure from the left adjoining wall along the floor to directly below the peak point. Vault height refers to the height of the topmost peak of the ceiling in relation to the top of the adjoining wall height. So, if the adjoining wall sits at 96 inches high, and the height of the peak is at 120 inches, the peak height will need to be 24 inches. As you adjust these parameters, the image in the preview panel will adjust to reflect the entered dimensions. Under the Cathedral Length section, you may choose to create the ceiling shape to the next wall, which is the wall opposite of the selected wall. Or you may turn that option off by left-clicking the box to remove the check mark. Then, in the Specified Length box, enter the distance in which this cathedral ceiling will continue into the room. When selecting the Shed option, you will see there are now 4 fields under Cathedral Parameters in which you may make dimension alterations. Now, there are left vault and right vault positions, again referring to the distance from the left adjoining wall to the position of both the left and right peaks of this ceiling shape within the room. And there are also fields for both the left and the right vault heights that will allow you to create a ceiling shape with 2 separate peak heights that may or may not sit at the same elevation. Again, As you change these parameters, the image to the right will change to reflect the entered values. Once again, you have the option to continue this cathedral ceiling the entire distance of the room to the opposite wall, or turn the option off and determine how far into this room the ceiling shape will continue. The gambrel ceiling shape is created like the previous two. However, now there are 3 vault positions and vault height values to be entered. Remember when entering the vault position values that each value is a reflection of where the peak will sit from the left adjoining wall. Also, like the previous options, you may adjust whether the ceiling shape will continue to the opposite wall or at what distance this ceiling shape will end. Once the cathedral ceiling has been created, left-click the OK button at the bottom right corner to apply. When we open the elevation view of the adjoining walls, we will see that there are additional areas in which we now can place windows and other items. Let's take a moment to practice adding a skylight window. To access the Architectural Elements catalog, left-click either the Doors or Windows icons from the toolbar to launch the dialog box. When we open the Windows folder, you will see near the bottom of the subfolders that there are skylight windows available, intentionally for the purpose of being applied to the cathedral ceiling walls. These windows will by default have a source light placed behind them to be cast into the room onto floors, countertops, and other items. Select the desired window and left-click Place. Move the mouse onto the wall that now has additional placement areas. Left-click once to drop the item and a second time to secure. When the dialog box reappears, left-click Cancel to dismiss. As with any wall item, these windows will place at the wall item alignment height as determined in the design settings for this design. Once these items have been placed on the wall, you will need to utilize the up-down placement tool to move the items up onto the cathedral ceiling. Moving these items up-down into place can be a little challenging and may require just a touch of math to figure out the up-down placement value. When utilizing the top field to move the window up onto the slanted wall, the value will be entered as a negative value from the height of the foundation wall. When utilizing the bottom field, it will be the height of the foundation wall plus the additional elevation up onto the wall. This capability could be extended to install other architectural features, such as support beams, additional soffits, and so much more. Occasionally, you may run into some common pitfalls when creating a cathedral shape within the design. The first and most common pitfall happens when you attempt to create a cathedral shape on more than one wall. This may lead to a skewed 3D rendering. Remember, when creating your cathedral shape, that it is to be created for the entire room on a single wall that will house the highest peak point. Another common pitfall is attempting to create a cathedral shape for a single room within a multi-room design. Attempting this will create the cathedral shape from one exterior wall all the way across to the opposing exterior wall, and may not provide the cathedral shape you would like for a singular room. In this case, it may be best to separate your multi-room design into individual room design files and create the cathedral ceiling for the single room, or utilize the architectural element cathedral wall or cathedral top as covered in the Additional Architectural Elements video tutorial. Another potential problem may arise when you are attempting to create a cathedral ceiling with multiple cathedral shapes. There is really no good way to represent this design component, as the cathedral shape options and creation methods do have their limitations within the software. In this case, it is suggested to create a single shape that is only going to serve as a best representation of the final product. With ProKitchen's cathedral ceiling options, you are now able to take your designs to a whole new elevation. Thank you for watching this video tutorial. For more videos like this, please visit www.prokitchensoftware.com.